Hello there, and welcome to your Hatha Yoga practice. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Sarah, and I'm the founder of You're Enough Yoga down here in Brighton and Hove. In our practice, we're going to be moving through a sequence which is between 25 and 30 minutes. It'll be pretty gentle, but there will be some elements of challenge as well if you'd like some of those. Please remember, as with any online yoga class, that you practice at your own risk, and You're Enough Yoga are not liable for any injuries that happen during your practice today. So please work within the limitations of your own body, and remember, even if you were able to do something in your yoga practice yesterday, or you feel like there's something you can normally do, you need to listen in with your body today and see, is that possible for me today? Does that feel good in my body? Maybe the shape I'm in is enough for today. Perhaps you don't need to push yourself so hard. It's definitely one of the premises of You're Enough Yoga. So let's get started, and we will begin in a nice relaxed lying down shape. This first shape is called constructive rest position, and it's just lying down on the back. Feet are flat on the mat, knees are bent. See for yourself whether you want your feet quite close in towards the body, towards the buttocks, or if you want to walk them away from the buttocks a little bit. Just feeling the sections of the spine melting into the mat now. Lower spine connecting with the ground, middle spine, upper spine, to the back of the skull melting now into the surface underneath you. Knowing that you're being held in safety in your yoga practice today. You can choose whether you want to have your palms facing upwards towards the ceiling, or have your palms downwards, whatever feels good for you and right today. And as with any yoga practice, we'll be breathing in and out through the nose, but in a very natural fashion. There isn't anything fancy to do with your breath unless there's a particular breathing exercise. So for now, just breathing in and out through the nose. Beginning to notice where you feel the breath most predominantly in the body. Perhaps around the nostrils, around the chest, the upper spine, or maybe in the abdomen. And in a very friendly and light fashion, a bit like a butterfly landing on something, just friendly gluing your attention onto the breath as we're supported in this shape right here. During this practice, you can feel free to have your eyes closed or open, and you can close your eyes at any point if you feel like that's what you need in your practice today. And I invite you to listen carefully to my voice, tuning into the voice and hearing how the cues and instructions land for you and where they make sense in your body. Trust yourself that you don't need to look at the screen so much. We're very overstimulated beings. And just tuning into the sound of one voice can be a very mindful and relaxing practice. Of course, feel free to look if there's something you're not sure about. But for now, turning your attention inward and acknowledging that this is your time, your practice. Begin to sway the knees side to side. You don't need to send the knees all the way down to the opposite side on the mat. It can be a small sway or slightly bigger. We don't need to be going to the full range of motion full extension of motion quite yet, and perhaps not ever in your practice. If it feels okay for you, beginning to make these swaying shapes a little bit bigger now, so perhaps the knees do come a little closer to the ground on either side with each sway. And next time your knees happen to come towards your left side, you can gently lower them all the way down to the left. Bring your arms out to a T shape. And if it feels okay for your neck, take a glance to your right hand side. If you feel any kind of discomfort or definitely any pain around the hips, if it feels too much, feel free to stack your right leg on top of your left, keeping this twisted shape, and it'll take any pressure off your psoas that you may not be ready for quite yet. Are there any sensations to note now that may feel different from how you began the practice just a few moments ago? Maybe, maybe not. And gently centering the head once again, and centering the whole body so that the full spine is back supported on the ground, and we can sway the knees once again. And we're going to be taking the shape on the opposite side now, so when the knees happen to come towards the right, in a gentle fashion, lower them down to the right side. Stack your left leg on top of the right, if that feels okay and that's what you feel called to do. And just a casual glance to the left. Bring your attention back to your breath once again. And unwinding from our twist now, centering the body, length of the spine, back supported by the mat and the ground once again. Give your knees a little gentle hug into the chest. This doesn't need to be a forceful hug at all. The body experiences some compression whether or not you're squeezing yourself or not. And now we will take a slightly tighter hug. So we're moving from this feeling of the kind of gentle hug going into a much tighter shape. So squeezing in the knees tightly, wrap your hands around just below your knees if that feels okay. Flex your feet and begin to rock from side to side. Just across the spine. Giving a little wake up to where our central nervous system lives in the spine. And you can release the tightness of the hug now. Maybe grasp underneath your knees so that your hands are on the backs of your thighs. Knees can be apart. You can flex your feet so the soles of the feet are like looking towards the ceiling. And imagining now that you've got paintbrushes attached onto the soles of your feet, drawing circles, lovely painterly circles with your feet, painting the ceiling. Just being mindful to keep as much of the spine as possible supported by the mat. It's helpful for the nervous system to feel the connection there. And sending the feet the other way now, circles being drawn on the ceiling in the opposite direction. And now you can take the hands away from the legs, bring them down by the sides of the body, resting on the mat, and your feet are still hovering, floating up into the air. Your legs by no means need to be poker straight at all, but we're still going for this sense of lifting with the soles of the feet towards the ceiling. And as if you're cycling a bike now through the stickiest, most treacly toffee, slow cycling with the legs. Just enjoying the sensations of letting the body move slow. This movement falls away back into stillness. Legs are still raised. Float your arms up into the air and begin to rotate the ankles and the wrists. These rotations are a lovely way to bring in some kind of juice, if you like, the synovial fluid that is in these joints. It's a great way to flush fresh fluid around the body. And when you've taken what you need from these rotatings of the ankles and on the wrists, hug your knees back into the chest just gently, and we'll take that rocking side to side once again. Hands come back down to the mat. Feet are still floated off the mat, and you've got a bend in your knees now, quite a deep bend actually. So it's more like your calves are sort of at 90 degrees to the mat. It doesn't matter if they're not a perfect 90 degrees, who cares? It's not going to be dangerous for you to do it any other way, but we've got a sense of having the calves floating above the mat. And next time you inhale, on your exhale, thud your feet down to the mat. Float the legs up, back to this sort of 90 degrees position, and we'll thud the feet down again. Let's repeat this 3 more times with the thudding. And now in stillness, just drinking in any sensations that you can feel of the excitement of those movements that are now passing by, reverberating through the body. And when you're ready, you can begin to roll onto your preferred side. Spend a couple of moments here on the side. And when you feel ready, you can use your top hand to press down into the mat and help you come up into a seated position. We'll be sitting cross-legged. If this feels uncomfortable for you at any point, just feel free to shake the legs out in front of you if there's any tension that's building up. So we'll make it so that we sit back a little bit and draw some flesh out from the left buttock, and on the right, drawing the flesh to the side and back so that the sitting bones are nice and in contact with the ground underneath. Let's bring the palms onto the knees. We don't need to be trying to find any sense of how we kind of should be sitting in this shape. We don't need to be like a poker straight spine or trying to shove our shoulders back too far. But there is a sense of a gentle but relaxed lifting through the spine. Don't need to be shoving the chest out. Chin is a little way tucked towards the chest. It's this comfortable, relaxed, seated position. Bring your attention to the area of your sitting bones, connecting with the mat, the area of your perineum, Again, connecting with the mat, helping you root downwards. Feeling grounded, feeling secure in this shape. We'll be bringing in some movement into this seated position now. So when you're ready, you'll be tucking your chin towards your chest, rounding at the upper spine, kind of rounding the shoulders inward, sitting back a little way, which tucks the pelvis under some. And then we'll be reversing this movement. So bringing attention to the pelvis, tilting the pelvis backwards, underneath and away from you. Belly coming forward, chest coming forward a little, having a little look forward with the face, forwards, not up. And we'll repeat these movements again. This is called seated cat and cow. So moving backwards now, tucking the pelvis under, rolling up, rounding the upper spine and the shoulders, rolling inwards, chucking the chin towards the chest. Making the spine this kind of concave shape, if I've got that right. I hope concave is the right word. Always get that mixed up with convex. Coming forward now, tilting the pelvis behind, chest coming forward a little, rolling the shoulders back. Let's repeat these a couple more times in our own time. Welcoming the spine into flexion every time we move back, and then the extension when we look forward a little way. Just one more time each with these. Okay, back into stillness, back into center. You can bring your left hand onto the mat next to you. It's roughly near your hip. You can have your fingers facing forward, to the sides, or maybe behind you. It really doesn't matter, just whatever feels okay for you. And take a little slouch into that left side, into your hand. See what it's like to slouch. And if you press some of your weight into that hand to guide you back into sitting a little bit more straight, again, we don't need to be like a poker straight rod. And we'll slouch to the left again. And pressing up to sitting. Let's repeat this. Slouching, sitting. Maybe just 3 more times at your own speed. Next time you come to sitting up, being back centered again, hand stays where it is to the left, and this time creating a sense of really pushing the ground away with the hand. At this point, it's slightly better to have the fingers sort of facing sideways. Float your right arm up, again, doesn't need to be super straight, and we're going to enjoy a little side bend to the left, so pressing into that hand, chin tucked towards the chest. Enjoying this lateral stretch on the right side of the body. Catch your breath. Coming back through center. We're going to be bringing the right hand down next to the body now, and we're going to take our slouching and then sitting movements. This short sequence, so slouching to the right, sitting up, slouch to the right, sitting up, and repeat a few times for yourself. And again now, pushing the ground away with the right hand, fingers coming out to the side. Get a sense of really pushing it away, creating some different forcing now. It's forces, sorry, not forcing. Floating the left arm up and enjoying this lateral stretch now to the side, coming towards the right, chin tucking towards the chest. Being mindful not to let our left hip bone kind of shoot up from the ground too much. We've got the sense of lifting but also pressing that hip bone down. left hip. And back into the centre. We'll take these side bends just one more time on each side. So pressing the ground away to the left, floating right arm up, leaning to the side, and floating to the opposite side now. Right hand comes down, left arm comes up, leaning to the right. Beautiful. Bringing ourselves back into the centre. Let's bring the legs out in front, just give them a little jiggle. Maybe roll them in and out. And we're going to sweep the legs to the side, bring them behind you. We'll be finding a position now that you'll see a lot of on yoga. It's called tabletop. So we've got knees on the ground, roughly underneath the hips. And I've got hands on the ground, wrists roughly underneath my shoulders. It can feel actually quite a lot on the wrist to have them dead underneath the shoulders. So maybe slightly ahead of the shoulders feels nice for you, like it does for me. So going back to our tilting and tucking of the pelvis that we did with our seated cat and cow, we're going to be bringing these movements in here to help us orientate our spine. So let's tilt the pelvis, letting the belly come towards the ground a tiny bit, looking forwards, not up. Here's our cow shape, and we'll reverse the movement, tucking the pelvis under, rippling through the whole 3 sections of the spine, rounding the upper spine, pressing into the hands, pushing the ground away, chin to the chest. Here's our cat. Let's repeat now through cow and cat in our own time. And don't be afraid to let these movements become a little bit more organic. So maybe the whole pelvis wants to get involved with a drawing of a circle, swaying side to side. Maybe hips go one way, head goes the other. Now letting these movements fall away, we're going to find ourselves back in stillness in our tabletop position. Now that we've had this tilting and tucking of the pelvis going on, perhaps it might help orientate the neutral position of the spine. So not too much tilt, not too much tuck. Crown is drawing forward. Step your right leg back, keeping the toes tucked underneath, and just rock forwards and back. Being careful not to lose the integrity of this neutral spine. And back into stillness. See how it is just to float that leg off the floor. We're not going for height at all in this shape. It's more like length and hovering. And float that back down. Both knees are back on the mat. Bring them a little further apart. Big toes come to touch. Send yourself back all the way for your child's pose. Buttocks coming towards the heels. Arms are outstretched. Not too much of a kind of limp child's pose though. Let's be active. So we'll have the fingertips on the mat, tenting the fingers. Really drawing those armpits forward. Okay, so hands come flat to the mat. Let's rock ourselves forward once again for our tabletop shape. And this time stepping the left leg back. So rocking forward and back. Slow and leisurely if you like, or at a bit more of a pace. It's really up to you. And just floating that leg off the ground. Foot still flexed. We don't want to be having any kind of ballerina pointy toes. We're going for a flexed foot. So really shooting energy out of that heel back behind you. Bending the knee, lowering the knee back down to the ground. Let's send the hips to the right and have a little look over the left shoulder. Send the hips to the left, have a little look over the right shoulder. Now we're going to tuck the toes back in our normal tabletop shape, so the toes are in contact with the mat. Send your hips back a tiny bit, but not so far back for child's pose. Keeping the toes in contact with the mat, hover the knees off the ground using leg strength. Lower the knees. Once again, hover the knees. Lower the knees. This time we're going to be sending the knees upwards and the hips upwards and the sitting bones skyward for our downward facing dog. So get ready to hover the knees and then sending yourself up, 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 hips coming skyward. Downward facing dog. It doesn't matter if your heels are off the mat. We're pressing forward through the hands. Crown is coming towards the ground. Imagine your spine like a beautiful waterfall, just ebbing forwards. Real sense of lifting through the hips and the buttocks. Catch your breath. Walk through the legs a little bit, so bending one knee, straighten it out. Bend the second knee, straighten it out. Feels really nice doing that through the calf muscles. And from our downward dog, keeping your gaze fixed on your toes like they are the most interesting thing you've ever seen. Slowly, real slow, walking your toes, your feet one foot in front of the other to meet your hands at the front of your mat. Keep a nice deep bend in the knees in this forward fold. Crown of your head is like on a magnet coming towards the ground. Take a gentle clasp of your elbows and sway side to side. Back into stillness in your forward fold. Hands come down to the mat. If they don't quite reach, it doesn't matter. Now let's create a sense of really pressing down through the feet into the ground, supporting us. Pressing down into the feet as we begin to unfold to standing. Real slow, vertebrae by vertebrae. Your head will be the very last thing that comes up. Palms face forward. Feet are a little distance apart for your mountain pose. Gentle bend in the knee. Locate your breath. In a moment, we're going to roll down. Tuck your chin towards your chest. Take a bend in the knees, rolling your spine down piece by piece like somebody folding you in a gentle fashion. Bend in the knees as you come towards the ground. Your fingertips sweep the ground in front of you and sweep back towards you, pressing into the feet once again, rolling back up. No hurry. The slower the better with this one. Head's the last thing to come up, shoulders just dropping away from the ears. We're going to take one more, roll down and roll up. Tucking chin towards the chest, let's go. Press into the feet for rolling up, no hurry. Palms facing forward. Open your eyes if you like. Keep your gaze, which in yoga we call the drishti, nice and soft. Send your weight into your right leg, so you're rocking to your right. Left leg becomes light, like it might float up, but not yet. Back into the center. Weight into the left foot. Right foot becomes light, but not lifting yet. And we're going to sway like this a couple more times. Weight coming through the right leg and foot, through the left. Next time you happen to have your weight coming down through your right leg, float left foot off the ground, bend in the knee, keeping the foot flexed or balance here. Bring your hands into a prayer position at your chest. Let go of the prayer, arms by your sides, palms facing forward, float left foot back down. Weight comes into the left foot as the right foot floats up. Prayer at the chest. Hands by the sides, palms facing forward, right foot floats down. Tuck your chin towards your chest, rolling down the spine towards your feet once again. Nice deep bend in the knees, and we're going to walk our feet backwards with the hands on the ground, feet walking backwards to downward facing dog. Or something that looks like it, at least. Let's walk through the legs. Let's bring your feet a little bit closer together at the back of your mat. Again, contact with the mat in the hands, pressing forward and down. And sweep your left leg behind you. It's going behind, not up. It's pressing out through the flexed foot and the heel. Left foot comes back down to the mat. We'll go for this on the right. Sweeping right leg behind you. Length, not height, pressing out through the heel. Floating right foot back down. This time you're going to keep your gaze on your toes and pad your hands backwards towards your feet, finding your feet at the back of your mat. Press down into the feet, rolling back up vertebrae by vertebrae. Finding your mountain pose, step the feet a tiny way apart, keep a nice little gentle bend in the knee. See if you can tuck under a tiny bit with your pelvis. Arms by the sides, palms facing forward. Sweep your arms up to make a prayer above your head. Interlace your fingers, keeping your index finger and your thumb free from the interlace. And let's lean a little way to the right. Shooting energy out through that index finger. And centering yourself. Same shape coming over to the left. And repeat one more time each side. Hands to prayer position. Draw your prayer downwards, down the midline of your body. Rest your prayer in front of your heart center. Float your prayer back up above your head. Open your arms either side of you, sweeping the arms down, bend in the knees, just rolling yourself forwards and down into your bent knee forward fold. Walk your hands out in front of you to find your downward facing dog, or a shape that resembles it. It might not be perfect and it doesn't matter. You don't need to get things to looking perfect. So walking the legs once again. And if it feels okay for you, we're going to transition from downward facing dog into a plank. So we're going to be transferring our weight forwards, and the shoulders are going to be a little way over the wrists. Let's hold here. You can lower your knees at any moment.
Keeping that stability through the shoulders, a sense of rounding through the upper spine. And now sending your sitting bones backwards, part the knees, big toes come to touch. We're coming towards child's pose. Sitting bones towards the heels. And you can have your arms extended if you wish, or you may like to sweep them back towards you to come either side of your body for this kind of acorn type shape. Sometimes people call it cell. Forehead resting on the ground. Just rocking gently side to side now. Giving a little massage to the front of the forehead. This section of the forehead, the center that we call the third eye. Waking up our senses, our sixth sense, if you will. Drawing the hands forwards now, back out in front of you. We're going to be moving our way, transitioning into a low kneeling shape. So unfolding the body so that you're kneeling and your buttocks are on your heels. Palms are in the center of your thighs or somewhere like that, just resting in the lap. Chin tucks towards the chest. Roll the shoulders back. Let's circle the shoulders a couple of times in case any tension's built up in there in our dog shape or in our tabletop or plank. And we'll roll the shoulders forwards. And back into stillness. Just appreciate this sense of silence and stillness for a few more moments. Now we're going to be kneeling upwards, tucking the toes behind you. See if you can create a sense of every single toe being in contact with the mat. You can stay like this if you wish. We're going to be sitting our buttocks back now, so we're going to be resting the buttocks on the heels. Feels like a little bit of weight will be pressing through the feet. It's gently working the, it's called the plantar fascia. The flesh, the skin, connective tissue on the soles of the feet. If this feels too much, just come back into a low kneeling shape or kneel back up, taking the weight off the heels. Bring your hands to prayer at your chest. Raise your prayer up above your head. Drawing the prayer down on the inhale. Send your prayer back up on the exhale. Bringing the prayer down, untucking the toes, coming back now into a low kneeling shape. Walk your hands forward in front of you, going now for our tabletop shape. And we're coming back to a couple of cat and cows. So let's take the cat and cow shapes in our own time. Tucking under at the pelvis for cat. Tilting the pelvis, looking forward for cow. And again, some organic movement with the pelvis, maybe circles, maybe rocking side to side. You might even bend one elbow and bring that forearm to the ground, and on the other side. And now we will be bringing just gently one forearm to the ground and the next forearm to the ground. And we find ourselves here in this, I guess we can call this forearm tabletop shape. And let's see how it is to carry on with our couple of cat and cow shapes whilst in forearm tabletop. So tilting the pelvis, take a careful glance forward for cow. Reversing the movement for cat. Finding this well-known yoga shape, these cat and cows, but in a slightly more strange position with the forearms on the ground. Coming back into stillness. Tuck your toes behind you. And if it feels okay for you, in a moment or two, we're going to be lifting the knees and the hips and sitting bones, sending our hips skyward for dolphin shape.
So begin to hover the knees off the ground. This might feel like totally enough today. Don't blame you. Hover the knees back down, and this time we're going to be unfolding ourselves into our dolphin shape. So hover the knees, send the hips skyward, crown of the head is coming very much towards the ground, but it's not on the ground, pressing down through the forearms and the hands, creating stability around the shoulders. You can walk your feet a little closer together, real sense of height and lift with the hips. Dolphin. Catch your breath. Carefully lower the knees. Send your buttocks towards your heels. Sweep your hands back towards the side of your body for your cell shape. Forehead on the ground. Rock side to side. Unfolding yourself now, coming up into this low kneeling shape.
You can part the knees a little bit.
So we're going to be placing the hands now either side of the body. Got some hair attached to me. Now just keeping the gaze, looking forward, nice and gentle gaze. Rolling the shoulders back a little bit, just lifting the chest a tiny bit towards the ceiling. Same with the face, but we don't need to be chucking our head all the way back. Face is just gazing at the ceiling. Neck's nice and loose, it's not thrown all the way back. Lift the chest, roll the shoulders back. Carefully tuck your chin towards your chest. Just countering these kind of forward movements we've been making with the cell and the child's pose shape. Roll the shoulders backwards. Roll the shoulders forwards. And in your own time and in your own way, we'll make our way back to lying on our backs once again. We'll have feet placed on the ground, knees bent. Constructive rest position. Palms facing the ceiling. We'll sway the legs once again. Sway the knees side to side. Just working out through the lower spine here. A little bit of more movement for the upper legs in their joints. And now you're going to, if it feels okay with this width, place one foot on the outer edge of your mat and the same on the other side. So you've got both feet facing forwards on the outer edges of the mat. And in a very careful fashion, we'll just lower our knees towards the left-hand side. This is quite a wide shape for the hips. If it feels too much, like we did at the start of the practice, you can stack one leg on top of the other. This is quite a nice workout for the psoas right here. Bring your arms out to a T shape. Have a glance to your right. Melting into this twist. Centering the head, so back of the skull is on the mat, face is opposite, facing the ceiling. Bring the rest of the body back through center. Feet return to the outer edges of the mat, and when you feel to, it's time to lower the knees towards the right hand side. Maybe they reach all the way to the floor, maybe they don't, it doesn't matter. Glancing to your left. Centering the head once again. Knees and spine coming back through center.
Float the knees in towards the chest, and it's a gentle hug and a gentle rock side to side. Let your arms and legs come apart now and float your legs up, feet towards the ceiling. Legs don't need to be straight for your gravity pose. Arms floating up as well, kind of like an insect that's upturned on its back. Rotate the wrists and the ankles. Just blessing this last bit of small movements towards the end of the practice. Arms come back down onto the mat by the sides of the body. Bend your knees some and let your feet thud to the mat. Float them back up. That's thud 2 more times. You're totally welcome to stay in this bent knee shape for your final relaxation for Shavasana. Maybe turn the palms of the hands over to face the ceiling so you can receive and bathe in the energy of your practice that we've cultivated. Or you can create the more traditional Shavasana shape by sliding the heels away from you, nice and long towards the ends of the mat. Melting the back of the skull into the ground. Spine holding you. The body's worked. We let the body rest. And the shapes we make in our practice actually lead us to this moment, one of, if not the most important shape in your physical yoga practice, Shavasana, where we can reconnect with the breath. Just observe the thoughts of the mind. And that's all we do, we observe in a friendly fashion. You can stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. Resting, reposing. Become aware of where you sense the breath most predominantly in the body. Maybe deepen your inhale just a tiny bit, and the exhale deepens a tiny bit. Just breathing awakeness and sensation back into the body. And when you're ready, you can roll onto your preferred side. Making your way back up into a comfortable seat, perhaps cross-legged. Bring your hands into prayer position, which is called Anjali Mudra. Tense your fingers, which means the fingertips are touching. Take a bend in your 2 index fingers so that the index fingernails touch. Open your eyes and look down. You'll have created a shape with your fingers that looks something like a heart. Gaze down deep into your heart. And know that here in this moment, you are enough. Hands back to prayer position. Touch your prayer on your forehead, onto your heart center. Next time you exhale, take a bow forward.
Thank yourself for making time to practice today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. If you enjoyed that kind of sample practice that we've just done, I hope to see you in person at a You're Enough yoga class, where there'll be much more yummy, flowy shapes for you to experience. Thanks for being here.